When he arrived back home in May 1955, Swaps had just become the first California-bred and owned horse to have won the Kentucky Derby. He was an instant celebrity. His owner, Rex Ellsworth, and trainer, Mesh Tenney, were called cowboys by the Eastern press and were not bound by racing traditions and practices. They ignored the remaining Triple Crown events, the Preakness and Belmont Stakes, and returned to California enticed by rich purses and the friendly atmosphere of home. Elegant and graceful, Swaps was a son of Khalid from the Beaupere mare Iron Reward. He remained under serious training by Mesh Tenney, for his primary rival at home was Determined, who had made his triumphant return from winning the Kentucky Derby a year earlier. Bought at auction in Kentucky by his owner, Andrew Cravelin, Determined was the first gray horse to win the Derby, and a meeting of the two classic champions was eagerly awaited. The battleground was to be the $100,000 Californian Stakes, and the Hollywood Park paddock was crowded with celebrities. A film was being discussed with Gary Cooper to play Rex Ellsworth, and General Omar Bradley was the ranking member of the many Swaps admirers present that day. Swaps would run with jockey Dave Erb substituting for regular rider Bill Shoemaker, suspended for a minor riding infraction, and would be meeting older horses in early summer, usually considered a disadvantage to 3-year-olds. None of it mattered. Dave Erb was an able substitute for Shoemaker, and Swaps collared the pace-setting Mr. Gus when he was ready and did what he had to do to hold off the late charge of Determined. Swaps stopped the electric timer in a new world's record of 1:40 2/5 for the mile and a 16th, and seemed to have plenty of unexpected energy left as he returned to an ovation. If ever one thoroughbred provided national attention for a racetrack, it was Swaps for Hollywood Park, and just after his retirement from racing, a statue honoring the beautiful chestnut was dedicated at the Inglewood track. He had earned the tribute. Speakers at the ceremony recalled Swaps' Horse of the Year campaign in 1956. In the Inglewood Handicap that year, he carried 130 pounds and gave 15 to Mr. Gus and 9 pounds to Bobby Brocato. Mr. Gus would beat Nashua in the Woodward that year, and Bobby Brocato had just won the Santa Anita Handicap when Swaps was injured and could not compete. Swaps' very way of going seemed lighter, requiring less effort than other thoroughbreds. Though not really extended, he ran the mile and a 16th Inglewood in world's record time of 1 minute 39 seconds flat. In the Gold Cup at 1.25 miles, Swaps at 130 gave Mr. Gus 13 pounds and Porterhouse 20, as Langolan Stables pair attempted a double-team effort. Many horses we call great have failed to carry 130 pounds to victory. The Great Citation never won with that much weight, and Nashua, arch rival of Swaps at 3, was always defeated with as much as 130 pounds up. Swaps carried 130 pounds 6 times and won. When he was healthy, nothing seemed to matter. He was as supple and handy and graceful as a greyhound, and when, after holding him in tight restraint, Bill Shoemaker finally let him run, Swaps' acceleration past good horses was exhilarating. When retired, Swaps held the largest collection of world speed records in history, 5, from 1 mile to the 1 5/8 miles of the Sunset Handicap. It was his last start at Hollywood Park, and it was a romp. Although there were 9 horses in the Sunset field, only win betting was allowed, a dubious practice never again allowed by the California Racing Commission. Of course, Swaps had reduced the competition to near unknowns, and Shoemaker let him float along on the lead from wire to wire. The memory of that incredible season of 1956 still uplifts those he touched. It was but a few weeks after this peak of brilliance that he fractured his left hind leg in a mishap in New Jersey and barely survived. After weeks in a sling and a long recuperation, Swaps lived to sire champions, but none as good as he. So the statue stands for courage and class, as well as superior performance. He made his farewell to racing at Santa Anita, where he was never defeated. With Tenney on the pony and Shoemaker up, Swaps proudly paraded on a gloomy day befitting the occasion.